of your great obsessions or passions is the music of Gary Numan. So when did you first discover Gary Numan, and again, what was the appeal?
Well, I was about 20. I was working at a soft drinks factory, and there was a man there a couple of years older than me who was absolutely obsessed with Gary Numan. He'd followed him right from the very beginning in 1979. You know, so he'd followed him right through, seeing the days when he was the biggest, the next biggest star in the world, right through to Gary being virtually bankrupt and struggling to get played on the radio, and that was the point where I got into it, really, where Gary was struggling to remain afloat as an artist. But it was an interest in, I like electronic music, but not the kind of stuff they have today. I like more conventional instruments mixed in, like live drums and guitar, but with the synthesizer being the main sound. And that's what Gary did.
Yes.
And it's when I saw the lyrics, my friend Wayne brought in some albums, and I read the lyrics to some of the songs, and I thought, this guy's, it's me, you know, he's like me. I mean, some of the lyrics here, this is from his very first album, Tubeway Army, a song called My Shadow in Vain. He says here, faces at random, I quote people I knew. I'd love to be like me if I could feel like you. So that resonated with me, that sense of awkward in my own skin, you know. There's this album, The Pleasure Principle. This is the album that Cars came from.
Right, the famous one.
The one that he's most famous for. Cars itself, here in my car, I feel safest of all. I can lock all my doors, it's the only way to live in cars. And it goes on with this sort of rather paranoid, insecure.
So again, you could identify with that.
I mean, the music is like, it's got this rhythm to it, and it's upbeat, and everybody loves it, but the lyrics are actually quite paranoid and detached and awkward. And he said in an interview he feels much more confident driving down the street than he does walking down it.
Yes,
amongst
protected.
people. So he's in his little bubble in the car. Another one called Complex. He sings, please keep them away, don't let them touch me. Please don't let them lie, don't let them see me. And I thought, oh, that'll be about music press and journalists. And I found out that it's about the fans. This was at the point where he'd gone from nothing to the top of the charts. He had an album and a single #1 at the same time. And I think at some stage that the previous album went back to #1 and the previous single from that went to #1. So he had two pairs of albums and singles #1 at the same time.
I mean, he suddenly became a very massive star, didn't he? Which must have been
did.
quite hard for anyone to cope with. But
did.
particularly someone
of his disposition, which we'll get into in a bit, would really struggle with. I mean, he had, at the height of his powers, within 18 months, he had 3 albums in the top 20 at the same time. You know, that's
incredible
like the Beatles
yes.
sort of success. So that lyric, please keep them away, don't let them touch me, it's the fans. They'd gone from nothing to all these people suddenly wanting a piece of him. And I could really identify with those sentiments. Then we get into the Telecon album, which is sort of 2 years in at this stage, and it's really paranoid and insecure. There's a song called Remind Me to Smile. The chorus is, remind me to smile, you know, the old friends line. It gets so I feel like I'm in this cold glass cage. And then in one of the verses he sings, I've got the horrors, check over my shoulder. I punch the air and fight, but no one's there. So again, it's this claustrophobic feeling. And the album's title track, Telecon, he says, where is my outline? I start to fade. No concentration means fail these days. I leave the table saying I am real. I feel the pressure like your eyes on me. So he's really out of sorts, struggling.
And of course, at the time that Gary Numan wrote these, he didn't have a real awareness of Asperger's. At the time you discovered these lyrics, you didn't either.
No.
But when you look back at them now, they very much sum up the Aspergic view of the world and the condition, the paranoia, the fear, the wanting to be isolated and feeling isolated.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting to look back.
When his career plummeted, so that we're kind of late 80s, early 90s, and his albums were not selling very well at all, the radio refused to play anything he released, the depression and the meltdown that came with that then fed into the lyrics of those albums. There's a song called The Sleep Room, which is kind of death. And he sings in the chorus, I know I'm not all that pretty, I know I don't sound like I should, I know I don't belong to fashion. And it's a real self-pitying, wallowing lyric. I remember when I used to play that in my early 20s, my mother hated it because it sounded so self-absorbed and so feeling sorry for himself. But he was depressed.
And it was that was coming through in the lyrics.
And really struggled to complete that album because of how he was feeling, and he thought his career was dead at that point and was bankrupt, really. So he'd gone from 3 albums in the top 20 at the same time and everybody thinking it's the great new thing to nothing.
Yeah, which is traumatic
and
in
really
itself.
struggling. So that was the period where I first discovered him, when he was right down there. And I used to be attracted to those lyrics because I understood that sense of failure and feeling like there's no way out. And even the fact that he knew that all he had to do is sound like contemporary music, and he could get played again, and he could be at number 1 again, and it'd be Gary Numan is back. But because he refused to do that, he wanted to come back on his own merits and with his own style. All of that was very attractive. The fact that he knew he could produce whatever is current and get back, but that was a sellout. He wasn't going to do it. He'd rather struggle and do his own thing than conform and be popular. And that really spoke to me, that as a person, not just the lyrics.
Yes. Now, when you came to write your autobiography, The Feelings Are Mutual, Gary Numan pops up again with a quote that's in the beginning of the book and then paraphrased throughout. And actually, when you read the book, comes across as something very strong. So when did you sort of discover this or decide? How did you decide to put it in your book?
Well, I got this, there's an album called Metal Rhythm, which he put out in 1988. And then it was reissued in the 1990s from a different company, and they found this quote from 1979. It's actually nothing to do with Metal Rhythm, but it's in this lyric sheet in this lyric book. I may commit suicide, or I may one day be completely all right. Gary Numan, 1979. And when I read that, I thought, I understand that sentiment totally. It's almost like a kind of a bipolar thing, really, of feeling like you're invincible and can achieve anything, and then the next moment, or the next day perhaps, feeling I can't do it, I'm a failure, I don't even know why I thought I could, and having
these extremes of emotions.
These emotions of feeling like $1 million and then feeling worthless.
And you actually wrote to Gary Numan's management to ask if you could quote it, and they were happy for you to do so.
And the management forwarded his reply, so he didn't reply to me directly, but they forwarded me his reply, and he said, I can't think that I would ever say such a thing, but if I'm quoted as saying it, and it's in print, tell him he can use it. So, thanks to Gary for that, because I did sprinkle it through the book, because it's something I identify with, that feeling of being very confident and being having no confidence all at the same time, and juggling the two extremes always. I'm still like that now, feeling confident and sure of things, and at the same time battling low self-esteem and feeling like a failure. So that's why that got weaved in through the book. I may commit suicide, or I may well be completely alright someday. The more I disregard the